Well, I'm just next to the road between the A171 and Russup, and this gate on a normal day might see coast-to-coast walkers coming through it. And as they do come through this gate, they get to see the sea in the distance, and they know that they're nearly at the end of their epic journey from St Bees in Cumbria to Romanus Bay. But there's no sign of anyone today because the coast-to-coast path, along with other parts of the moorland, are completely sealed off to the public. And for mile upon mile, this moorland looks like this. Now, I'm meeting Mike Shardlow, local farmer. He's in that tractor there, and he, like many other farmers, contractors and firefighters, have been working tirelessly to put the Langdale Moor Fire out. He explains when things started getting hairy from his point of view.
Well, it came down from Langdale Moor, which isn't officially Langdale Moor because there isn't such a moor, Langdale End, and it tracked right down that wall side to Maybeck's, and all the farmers were keeping the water going down that side, diverting the fire this way. And it crossed the road here, the B1416, at this point, and went down the ditch for 100 yards, and then went into Sneaton Moor there, and then took out all that Sneaton Moor. So the mine had a bulldozer in. One of the priorities was to protect the mine because in that, just through those trees, there's a big gas plant. So we have a fire break all the way down there. But the problem now is the fire's got into the fire break where the bulldozer and the fire's live in the bottom of those. So we're levelling it all out. So I've got that, we're levelling it all out and have tankers with me. So all the time you'll see fires around this area. And we're heading out towards Robin Hood's Bay now.
It's amazing to see how many miles of fire breaks there are. It's just mile upon mile of fire breaks, and these are huge sort of trenches and walls of earth that have just been built up. I mean, the process behind that is amazing. How much effort's gone into them.
Oh yeah, and a lot of this side was done by Collins Earthworks, and unfortunately Dave Collins died just before the fire. Otherwise, I know he would have been sat on a dozer pushing all this aside. But there was Kane who did a tremendous job down here. And I'll be honest, if it weren't for those dozers and Tankerman and everything, this fire would have probably gone right down to the viaduct at Russon and Horsecroft and Stainsacre.
What's amazing to see, though, as well, is that it's just crossing this small little area here, and then it has run all the way along that fence for ages, and then it's sort of spread out.
Rather than going in there. It must have been the wind direction, and it was sat in that valley, as you say. And that's why I can't understand why it didn't go onto this area here.
Yeah, it's amazing though, isn't it, that lives haven't been lost and property hasn't been destroyed. It's managed to be contained despite the sheer scale of it. It goes for mile upon mile, doesn't it, all the way to Lillicross and beyond.
Yeah, it is amazing. Fortunately, there hasn't been one property lost, one tractor lost. There was one injury, somebody fell out of his tractor cab. And I think that, there's been one or two close do's. Somebody was telling the story, one of the tractors got a bit close to the fire and melted the plastic bung in the bottom of the fuel filter, but luckily had another one. There was another tractor on fire up here. It came from harvest time, it just had straw and things underneath, but no major damage. Laughable stories, really. But some of these lads have been up here, especially Chris Ford, for weeks. And Chris Ford, I know for a fact, on Saturday night never had any sleep because he went to Slights for fish and chips at 9 o'clock and got called back out at 10 o'clock. And I called him again at 6:30 and he'd never been to bed. So there's been tremendous effort by the fire services that we've been working with. A lot of the rural fire services down there with the four-wheel drive engines. Danby in particular, I worked the first night with, and they worked the little socks off. And one of the lads, they're supposed to pull out at 4 o'clock in the morning, and one of the lads was going straight to work. They didn't actually get relieved till 5, and he literally went straight to work. And then they were back out the next night again. But those retained firefighters all have full-time jobs, all farms. And we've had Reeth, Laban, all these little fires, people up here. Some of them travelling up to 3.5 hours to get, and then do a full shift when they get here. I would hate to say how many tankers were running at the peak, between 20 and 30 I believe, farmers' tankers, and we're actually having a tractor road running through the NFU, and all the farmers and helpers, and I think some of the fire services are going to do a procession, and hopefully the forests are going to let us run from Maybeck's to Langdale End. If they don't, there'll be hell on, I think. And if they want a fee out of it, they'll even be more hell on. And then back by Howard Day, so we'll actually circle all the devastation. Because a lot of the lads really never saw the total devastation. They don't know what's happened at that end. I'm just looking down now as we talk. It looks like some smoke going up down there.
Right,
yeah.
So you might need to be...
No, the fire services... you can see the fire services sat down there. That's Whitby crew.
Yeah.
From there, they've got a marvellous advantage point, and they can see all this side of the moor. And they know exactly what we're doing. They're in contact with some of the, particular Chris Ford, the tanker drivers, and we were going to call them for their little one, but another little one's in there because it's still alight just in the centre of there. It's got right into the peat. I've got some photos where it is where I've just been digging peat out there. It was actually over a foot deep, the fire was. Wow. Yeah.
And that's the other big challenge, isn't it? That you're fighting a fire that you can't actually see in places. It's underground.
Yesterday we were on all these edges, and you'll see a grass area and just see a little bit of smoke coming out. You go and dig about a metre in front of you, and the fire's tracked right down under the grass in the peat, and then you lift that grass off and it just flares up in front of you. So that's what these guys are up against. You put water on, but it's not physically getting through the grass mat to the peat underneath.
Well, Mike wants to take me a little down the road to the Sneaton side to show me how the fire spread.
It was so close, and it was all down to the farmers' effort over there, stopping it crossing the A171, where it goes over to Phil Turford's farm. And we officially weren't allowed along this road to take water down to there to stop it, but a lot of farmers boycotted that idea and went down and saved that farm and cut all the heather and everything. And it was amazing that it actually never crossed that road towards Robin Hood's Bay, all up there. If you drive down that road, you'll see the fire has got to the grass verge. Yeah. And what was happening, we were going up there, and I took one load up there, and I aren't joking, you couldn't see the end of the tractor bonnet. The smoke was that thick in there. And the tractors did an amazing job, and that's what stopped that fire jumping over to Robin Hood's Bay.
The sheer scale of even just this side of the road, when you say it just crossed at one narrow point, is incredible, isn't it?
It's the largest fire that's ever been in the country, the fire service. We went up with the deputy president of the NFU and Tom from the fire service, and he said it's the largest fire they've ever had to deal with. And a lot from everybody on board's got to be taken in here. That the fire service, probably in future, if anything like happens, they'll call the gamekeepers, farmers and contractors in at an earlier point, because they've got the capacity to shift the volume of water. I'd hate to say how many million gallons. Say we've got a water shortage. We haven't, Paddy. We've been pulling out of the Esk or down in the harbour, which comes out of the Esk, and we haven't missed it. And they're still pulling thousands of gallons a day out of there.
You know, there'll need to be more planning for events like this, because, of course, with global warming, the chances of fires, however they start, spreading like this is going to increase, isn't it?
Definitely so, and I think the public have got to be careful. Barbecues, we stopped on our campsite, fire pits and but open barbecues just before this happened actually. Just chucking glass bottles away. There's one just sat there. Something like that can start a fire. Chucking a cigarette. There was an incident the other week. Somebody just chucked a cigarette out of the car below Sneaton. There was another fire while this was on, set by, I believe, a barbecue past the Flask Inn. Now that could have gone to Ravenscar while this one was burning. Now that would have stretched the resources to the limits. And there probably could have been loss of property, potential loss of life in that. There will have been one or two sheep, but not many. There was an island cut out by Dave Thompson down here, and there was about 20 sheep on there, and when all the smoke cleared, those 20 sheep were still on that little island of grass on there, survived it all. But the moor is recovering very quickly now. If you walk across there and you can see little green shoots coming out of the grass, as we look down here, it's starting to green up already, and a lot of it is done naturally. One of the best mans for recovering moorland, unfortunately died 2 years ago, Ian Fletcher from Glaisdale, and he actually restored this moor back in the 80s when it was last on fire. And the one over towards Robin Hood's Bay, and he was a master at it, went all over the country, and his knowledge was phenomenal. And there will be probably people, but he was very passionate about his job.
What's your gut feeling about how long this is all going to take, and just what the risk is of something major coming from this again?
The fire services and us, farmers and contractors, have got to get it right. So we're literally going around the edge. There was a case there. We were sat on Saturday night having fish and chips, Zoe and I. There was no sign of any fire. Sunday morning, I pushed all this along, and all this suddenly struck up. It was a light underneath all the soil, and there was no smoke or anything. I did that one in the corner this morning that I hadn't done. And so we've got to go around all these edges now, where all these piles are, push them out, and the tanker lads follow me. We had a fire down there this morning, fully ablaze. We're in control of it. Well, we hope we are. And the fire service is keeping an eye on us because they haven't got the equipment to go across the moors. And they're actually, believe it or not, a fire engine, the rural ones are only carrying about 1,300 litres of water, whereas some of these tankers we've got in 20,000 litres plus. Right. Yeah.
Amazing. And what's the communication like then between, you and the emergency services? Are you just communicating on phones or radios? I mean, what's the process there? I've been wondering that.
Well, we have Chris Ford, who is the sort of kingpin on the farmers and contractors side, and he has a fire service radio. I have Whitby Fire Engine's number, so I can contact them. I try not to bother them because there's a lot going on their radio. It's more for food if they want food or anything like that. But they're sort of operating things between them. There's 2 tankers actually gone out to Pond Hill now, where Chris Ford is, and one of Michael Parker's, because there's been a flare up down there. So everybody's in contact here. As we stood here, can you see that?
Yeah. Well, I've just noticed that's literally just appeared, isn't it?
And this is what happened. But that one isn't a concern. You forget about that. And I think there was 3 phone calls in 999, which I don't blame the public. Better off phoning in, because the valleys down the bottom are the important ones, because some of those valleys haven't got fire breaks in to where the fire services are watching, and that's why they're all. But I think we've got most of that area. Right. We're now going out towards Robin Hood Bay and starting pulling all these fire breaks where all the soil's been pushed back, pulling all those. I think there's about 5 miles of them to do. Something like that. And fencing, as you can see, there's hundreds and hundreds of miles of fencing being ruined. So it's going to be a major job for landowners, contractors, regenerating the moors, fencing. This work's going to be going on for years, a year or two. The fire will continue, we're reckoning, into winter. You'll see these little pockets. Yeah, hopefully somebody will be keeping an eye on the fire services, the Forest Commission, or the public. Yeah.
Well done for what you're doing. It's incredible, and people it's still hard to comprehend the scale of it. Obviously, if you drove us that way, it would be miles before we got to Lillicross, and it'd all look like this, wouldn't it?
Yeah, it is. I'll be honest. I came up to take Danby their breakfast on the Thursday morning, not last Thursday, the Thursday before, when the road was shut, and we were running through, and I came up here and you were in tears. It's, but as we said, luckily no lost life, or injuries. And we've got young lads. There's 2 young lads there, 16-year-olds on the moors. And they've been tremendous. One of you have heard quite a bit of William Butterfield from Grouse Hill, Michael Parker's son, and they've just been, dousing water on that area down there. And then the landowner's son's just come across with a little tanker to get in the woodland. And you've just got to keep an eye open for these areas. Yeah.
Well, like I say, well done again, and thanks for filling us in on the latest.
Yeah, that's it. Shame I can't get you up to Lillicross, but we haven't got time.
That's all right. You're busy. You've got other things to do than showing someone around like a tourist. Yeah. And then, just like that, Mikey's back in his little tractor, heading on to the moor again to help beat the fire, like so many others are doing as well.